Welcome to episode 70 of the Epic Classroom Podcast. I'm Trevor Muir, and this is where we explore how to make learning meaningful, dynamic, and transformative. Epic, so students don't just get through school, they thrive because of it. Today is a special episode. If you've been following the news lately, you've seen what's happening in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been conducting raids all over cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul. And to say it has been disruptive would be a massive understatement. There's been two very public killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, protests that have followed, but also many raids and arrests of undocumented and documented immigrants. There's a lot of fear and pain occurring in the Twin Cities right now. I've heard from so many educators that many students are afraid to come to school and are sheltering at home. I mean, the tension is palpable. Working in schools is already such challenging, complex work. And when you add this to all of it, it becomes that much more difficult and taxing. And I'll just say, this isn't a political podcast. I talk about students and teaching. But what's happening in Minnesota is greatly affecting students and teachers. And so we should talk about it. And so on today's episode, I've interviewed several educators who are teaching in the Twin Cities right now. I've invited them to share their stories and talk about what others should know about what they are going through. I think about the educators who showed up for my kids during the pandemic and helped bring a source of calm and stability during a crisis. They were some of the most essential people in our community during that time. And that's really a role educators serve in communities during a crisis every single time. And right now, that's educators in the Twin Cities. I talked to Anthony, a middle school teacher in Minneapolis. So let's dive in. I was talking to an educator earlier who half of her students are going to school virtually right now because their families are afraid to leave the house. Has that been your experience? Or have you seen that?
Identical situation. We've had to turn it around like it was in COVID, but this is, for those of us that remember that, we've had to go back to that ship to being I'm teaching kids, but only a small fraction of what I have now, maybe down to a third from what I normally, or even less, and doing a Google Meet, showing the activities. I've had to go from science you cannot teach virtually. So I've had to make adaptations, spend extra hours outside of my contractual time, but I do it because I want to be able to be an advocate, a representative of my students and my communities and my school and my colleagues. We're all carrying a huge load. The stories that were I can't get into the specifics of who, but the fear is there. You can feel it in the building, the interactions between the students. Some of them can keep, a smile on, and some of them are just very quiet. And it's not because of what we're saying, because I know I'm seeing what I'm very disturbed by is the way now we see information being divulged, the demonization. I'm like, these are human beings. You're associating me with that. There's even a story of a ICE presence in our parking lot, in our building. Can't get into the specific which one it was, but we've had to have security and administration ask them to leave our permit parking, not public, permit, because they just wanted to be there. And there's a huge sign. 2 weeks ago, we had a presence of a car that doesn't have a registration in our parking lot for teachers and staff. So imagine, as I'm talking about it, I'm getting nervous.
Of course.
Because that now started to feel way beyond what the news is reporting. It's not the same thing as it looks bad, but it feels bad because every day you don't know what's going to happen. It's also now cemented in our daily thoughts. What we're reading, what we're seeing does not match what we're living and absorbing from minute to minute. There's so many things that we're finding out. This is unprecedented. I was very reserved at the beginning when this started, but when we got testimony, stories from students, the stories from families, from our own colleagues, this is not immigration enforcement. This is something else. The word that I can use very appropriately, staying developmentally, academically appropriate is this is an occupation. They've been outside of our schools very intentionally. And the sight of boots on the ground with them armed, it also makes you feel very uncomfortable because why are you here? And you're again visiting a place that is a private parking, not public. There are public spaces around their school, but permitted specifically. And if you're not there authorized, they can't tow your truck, but we have to alert. We've already had twice presence in that part of our school. And it's not only just happening to us, our other immersion language programs are also being targeted. So
And
it's no, this is surreal. This is, like I said before, it's an occupation.
yeah.
We're here for our students, our families. We're even doing food drives to help them because they are afraid of leaving their homes. And here's the other part that's super important. And thanks for listening and facilitating
Hmm.
this. US citizens have been stopped, taken because of a physique, a color of skin. Excuse me, we're supposed to be advocating the same thing when we're in a classroom, not to discriminate based on any of the categories that they're demonizing online. I don't want to mention them because that's just, it's the human part of our society, of our cultures, of our communities. Come on. And then they were released. And one of them shared with me, oh, it's because I look kind of Hispanic looking. Due process is not happening. It isn't. And I wanted to get this out because I'm really worried about what's going to happen next. Because each day they say, oh, there have been some changes post Alex Preddy. But that hasn't stopped the patrols and the operations that are taking place, whether it's in my community where I live or if it's around it's anyway, feeling it, leaving it comes in pale comparison to what we're witnessing in Minnesota.